Try the refreshing taste of 1-calorie tabs.
Jiffy Pops, microwave popcorn.
Today we are taking a stroll down the aisle of the 60s and 70s grocery store, exploring the wonders that most people may have forgotten. From experiments that resulted in pudding to impressive dining table technologies that shot salad into your plate. Let's look at some forgotten grocery store items only baby boomers will remember. Remember the bright orange Tang mustache of the 60s? That was one of the fun, quirky experiences of the Tang powdered orange drink. Introduced by General Foods in 1959, the drink didn't really pick up until John Glenn, the astronaut, took Tang along on his 1962 Mercury flight. Suddenly, every kid in America wanted it. The citrus drink had a distinct artificial zing that brought life to every picnic, party, or get-together. Mom always kept the canister in the cupboard and would dump a few scoops into a pitcher of cold water, give it a swirl, and it was ready to drink. Tang didn't stay very long. Due to extreme market competition, by the 1980s it was already on the decline. Long before DoorDash and microwave burritos, we had TV dinners in foil trays. These little compartmentalized meals were nothing short of brilliant and efficient. They hit the market in 1953, and baby boomers back then enjoyed a nice diversity of meals on one tray. You just had to preheat in an oven and wait for 25 to 30 minutes, maybe longer if the Salisbury steak was a bit hard. The meals came in 4 sections, usually meat, starch, veggies, and a dessert. It felt very futuristic. You didn't have to set up the table, and best of all, you got to eat right in front of the TV. If you were a kid during the peak of the space race, there were 3 things you absolutely idolized: astronauts, rockets, and anything remotely connected to space. Manufacturers milked this trend, creating space food sticks, the chewy, tube-shaped snacks that made your mouth water. They were soft, slightly rubbery, and came in chocolate, peanut butter, caramel, and vanilla flavors. They were marketed as nutritionally balanced energy sticks, which made moms feel better about letting kids snack on them. They were packed in lunchboxes and were often a part of a Saturday morning cartoon breakfast. Space food sticks disappeared from store shelves in the 1980s and were replaced by healthier options such as granola bars. Before juice boxes became an essential in every kid's lunchbox, Hi-C in metal cans was the first and people's favorite. It came in tall, shiny metal cans, and you didn't pop the top. Instead, you punched your way in. Hi-C was introduced by Minute Maid, a division of Coca-Cola, way back in 1946, and it gained popularity in the 1950s. The 46-ounce tin cans required a triangular metal can opener, often called a church key. Hi-C had a loud and sugary taste that appealed to most. It came in orange, grape, fruit punch, peach, and cherry flavors. Kids loved the sweet, tangy, slightly syrupy nectar that coated your tongue and left your lips stained orange. The Hi-C eventually moved to paper cartons and then juice boxes in the 1980s. The relic of a carton is an actual collectible for fans of the pioneer drink. This is the JellO 1-2-3, introduced by General Foods in 1969. The gelatin dessert was an edible marvel. It came in a small powdered mix packet. You'd mix the powder in hot water like normal, then blend it for some time, then pour into a dessert glass and let it chill in the fridge for a few hours. The interesting part was how it automatically separated into 3 distinct layers while cooling. The bottom was classic JellO, the middle was a creamy custard-like mousse, and the top was a light, airy froth, like a whipped topping. The gelatin sensation was always next to the bundt cake and ambrosia salad. It brightened up every party and was a spectacle at every get-together. By the mid-1990s, it was taken off the shelves because of low sales, but boomers will always remember this colorful memory. How about Beeman's chewing gum, the mild, chalky, and oddly satisfying stick of gum that carried a whiff of the drugstore aisle? Beeman's chewing gum was invented in the late 19th century by Dr. Edward E. Beeman, an Ohio-based physician. The chewing gum was originally marketed as a digestive aid. It wasn't just a sweet treat, but also intended as medicine. It contained pepsin powder, an enzyme used to help with digestion, and for decades, it sold more for its health benefits than for its taste. Beeman's also had its fair share of popularity, as it was the gum often chewed by the most daring aviators. The legendary Chuck Yeager reportedly chewed on these bad boys before he broke the sound barrier in 1947, and even chewed on them before every flight for good luck. Beeman's vanished from stores and returned a few times. In the 2000s, it graced the shelves of retro candy shops, reminding boomers of the era of medicinal candy. Introduced by the Coca-Cola Company in 1966, Fresca was the soda for grown-ups, or at least that's how it felt. With its light, citrusy grapefruit flavor and distinct lack of sugar, it was miles away from the syrupy colas and neon-hued fruit sodas that dominated the market at that time. The only problem was that it used cyclamates, an artificial sweetener that was banned by the FDA in 1969. The Fresca original formula had a crispness and edge that gave it a unique, almost dry aftertaste. It was refreshing, slightly bitter, and appealing to the mature. Fresca was later reformulated with saccharin and aspartame. Over the years, it became sweeter and less edgy, very different from what it was. Fresca is still available in stores today, but no longer what it used to be. Only boomers know this secret. Before energy bars, protein shakes, or fancy bottled smoothies became a thing, there was Carnation Instant Breakfast, a staple for those who wanted to live healthily. Introduced in 1964, the powdery meal substitute came in sturdy glass jars and promised a nutrient-filled breakfast in a glass. All you had to do was scoop a few tablespoons of powder into cold milk and mix. Flavors like chocolate, vanilla, and eggnog were the favorite for kids and made rushed mornings a breeze. It was marketed as a nutritious meal for busy families. Check out Coca-Cola's first diet soda, born in 1963. Tab Soda was the sassy, skinny can that everybody loved. It came with the iconic pink packaging and bitter, almost metallic taste. Yes, it was an acquired taste and wasn't for everyone, but those who did love it were obsessed. It was the ultimate drink for office break rooms or a chill-out drink after one of Jane Fonda's workouts. Tab Soda started fading in the 80s when Diet Coke stole the spotlight, and by 2020, Coca-Cola finally discontinued it due to the low demand. However, this nostalgic drink was never forgotten by fans. If you had a box of Hydrox Cookies to go with some Tab Soda, then the picnic was complete. Before Oreos took over the market, Hydrox Cookies used to be the favored snack for kids and were an essential in every lunchbox. It launched in 1908, 4 years before Oreos, with a crisp and less sweet filling. It was appealing to all ages and had a loyal fan base. Hydrox was discontinued a few times, but loyal fans kept bringing it back. Now, it can only be found in specific stores. Back in the 50s through the 70s, even something simple as getting a drink of water could feel like an adventure thanks to Dixie Cups. Over time, the manufacturers started making Dixie Cups with cartoon characters inside. There were also comic strips, puzzles, or jokes printed on the inside of the cup. Kids absolutely loved the built-in fun and whimsical surprises at the bottom of the cup and fussed over who had the coolest characters. They came in colorful dispensers too, which hung on bathroom walls. As decades rolled by, the cartoon cups disappeared, and by the 80s, there were generic types in the market. However, the original vintage Dixie Cups remained rare treasures of a lost era. As a kid in the late 1960s, your Saturday mornings weren't complete without a bowl of Quisp cereal. Launched by Quaker Oats in 1965, the alien-themed Quisp was a sugary corn cereal shaped like flying saucers, playing into the space fascination of kids. Quisp commercials were smart and entertaining for kids, and Quisp the alien mascot certainly grabbed attention with its goofy antics. The sugary buzz thrilled kids for a while and then left the shelves in the late 70s, but its core followers, who didn't care much about the nutritional value, kept it around but in very few stores nationwide. Here's a dessert that the making always thrilled kids. Shake-a-Puddin' was not just a delicious dessert, but a fun science experiment for kids. Made by General Foods in the 60s, this treat came in its own colorful plastic cup with a snap-on lid. All you have to do is pour cold milk, close the lid, and shake vigorously, and it turns into instant pudding. No need for stoves or whisking. The all-time favorites were butterscotch, chocolate, and vanilla flavors. Kids were more into the shaking process, which was a bit of cardio work but paid off in delicious, mess-free dessert. The pudding left the stores in the 80s as many products competed for market share, but boomers never forgot these shaky little treats. If you visited the shopping malls in the 80s, chances are you probably stumbled upon a live demo of the Presto salad shooter in action. This handheld electric slicer and shredder was an impressive tech for its time and was used to impress your dinner guests. The little appliance, launched by Presto in 1988, came with a simple pitch to make your salad look cool. It neatly dices up your carrots, cucumbers, and neatly spits out the shredded salad into your bowl. This kitchen miracle was entertaining to watch and could be used for both salads and desserts. Its popularity began to decline in the 2000s when other powerful and convenient appliances took over. But believe it or not, Presto salad shooters are still available today if you know where to go. Remember the stovetop popcorn wrapped in foil that expanded while on the burner? Yes, the magical Jiffy Pop popcorn was an American family delight and often accompanied home videos. It was introduced in 1959 by Frederick C. Menon and later acquired by American Home Products. The corn came in a shallow aluminum pan with a wire handle and was sealed with a flat foil lid that expanded like an inflatable as the corn kernels popped. You'd hold it over a burner and gently shake it back and forth to keep it from burning. The best part was the hissing and popping sound that left kids mesmerized. Jiffy Pop was also fun to eat, but it slowly faded in the 80s as microwave popcorns became popular. The 70s also had something for canines, like the Chuck Wagon dog food, a cuisine which stood out in the growing pet food aisle. Launched by Ralston Purina in the early 70s, Chuck Wagon was a special, dark piece of kibble shaped like a miniature wagon, mixed right into the standard dry food. This little wagon piece was a convoy of deliciousness and won hearts with its unforgettable television commercials. It was irresistible to dogs, at least until the late 80s when it disappeared from stores due to evolving consumer needs. The crunchy old Dutch potato chips in a box was a classic snack that made headlines long before foil-lined plastic bags became the standard. The chips were packaged in a sturdy cardboard box that retained their freshness, and it immediately became a household favorite after it launched in 1934. The box had a nostalgic charm too, decorated with the company's signature windmill logo and often in red, yellow, or green accents depending on what flavor you got. The wax liner wasn't always airtight, and that was a design problem which often affected the preservation after the first opening. It's no wonder it was substituted for a better design, but the brand lives on in our memories. If there was ever a product that straddled the line between health supplement and pop culture fame, it was Gerl, the feel-better fast tonic that became a cultural punchline. It first hit the market in the 50s, marketed as a liquid iron and B vitamin tonic for strength. It began to feature in commercials very often, targeting homemakers and older adults. However, as popular as it was, Gerl's claims came under scrutiny, and by the 70s, it had drawn the attention of the Federal Trade Commission, which declared its advertising misleading, hitting the makers with one of the largest fines in that era. It turns out that not everyone suffering from fatigue needed an iron boost. Gerl still stuck around in shelves, only recognized by boomers. There was a time when no kitchen stock was complete without a few cans of pet evaporated milk tucked neatly on the shelves. It was introduced by Helvetia Milk Condensing Company in 1885 and later rebranded to Pet, Inc. From there, it became the trusted milk for many homes, especially for holiday baking when pies, fudge, and rich gravies were made in abundance. When refrigeration became accessible, the evaporated milk was sidelined for fresh milk, but it remained in a few stores. Today, it has permanently stuck to the aisle where you can find baking goods, now referred to as baking milk instead of what it formerly was. Very few can remember the 7 C's salad dressing, especially the tangy Italian flavor. Introduced in the mid-20th century, the 7 C's was known for herb dressings. Quite often, the oil separated from the herbs at the top, and the herbs floated like little flavored confetti consisting of vinegar, garlic, and pepper. It was a popular restaurant-style dressing that gave you that tangy bite with a burst of flavor. Today, it is remembered mostly in backyard barbecues by loyal fans. Before plastic bottles and squeeze tops took over every pantry shelf, log cabin syrup came in a sturdy tin can shaped like an actual log cabin, complete with printed wood siding, little windows, and even a pitched roof. It was whimsical, durable, and fun for kids growing up from the 40s through the 70s. Log cabin syrup itself dates back to 1887, and by the 1950s to the 70s, the syrup was sold in embossed tin containers shaped like little houses, often painted in a faux wood finish with red or blue roofs and quaint little details that made it a special play toy to kids. Of course, the cost of production was pretty high, so the tin cabin had to give way to glass bottles and eventually plastic containers. Now, how about these nostalgic effervescent soda tablets? The Fizzies drink tablets were brightly colored, coin-sized tablets that turned water into a bubbly mix, fizzing until it became a nice glass of soda. No bottle opener is required, just a glass of cold water and your Fizzies drink tablets. They were invented in the 50s by Emerson Drug Company as carbonated drink tablets with a variety of flavors such as orange, cherry, root beer, lemon lime, cola, and grape. The tablets came in little foil-wrapped packs and fed into the space-age obsession. Fizzies became a substitute for soda in many households, but when it was found that the formula for Fizzies contained cyclamate, an artificial sweetener that was banned in the US, production had to be halted. Even though Fizzies later returned with reformulated recipes, it had already lost its buzz. The pain of waiting for a Morton Pot Pie while sitting in hunger is a childhood memory that every boomer should remember. Before the microwave revolution, Morton Pot Pies were edible delights that came straight from the freezer and took 45 to 60 minutes to warm up in the oven. It first turned into piping hot golden crust in the oven. Then you had to let it cool off before eating, or you could end up with third-degree burns from a delicious treat. Morton's comfort food came in aluminum foil trays, packed with hearty chunks of beef or chicken, mixed with vegetables and a savory gravy. The 60s and 70s kids remember them fondly as weeknight treats or Saturday lunches. Pot pies vanished in the 1990s and were replaced by microwavable options. The most exciting part of shopping in the 60s for a kid was purchasing the Wacky Packages sticker. These stickers were the memes of that era and were often hilarious and slightly gross. They usually had something to say about all your favorite grocery brands. Wacky Packages stickers were introduced by Topps in 1967 and quickly gained popularity in the early 70s. They were a form of rebellion disguised as comedy and were loved by kids. They came in small wax paper packs just like baseball cards, and for 5 to 10 cents you could get yourself a pack with a collection of sticker cards with ridiculous commentary. Wacky Packages stickers faded in the 80s and became nostalgic collectibles for adults who remember giggling at its antics. Who could forget the multi-purpose Swan Soap flakes used for laundry and to bathe babies? Tough on stains but mild on your baby's tender skin, Swan Soap Flakes was introduced by Lever Brothers, now Unilever, and marketed as a scented soap that could be used in just about anything. From hand-wash laundry to cleaning solution, the flakes dissolved quickly and left a silky smooth lather that cleaned walls, floors, upholstery, and even pets. Believe it or not, the soap also doubled as human and pet soap. Eventually, Swan Soap Flakes faded away in the late 1960s into the 70s as more specialized products and harsher detergents took over. But for those that remember the soft powdery box, this one soap represented a time when one product could do the job of 10. Which of these grocery store items do you remember? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.